everyone. Before we get started, although it looks like everyone's doing a very, very good job of schmoozing, take an extra minute to wish each other Shabbat Shalom, and then we'll come back together, because it looks like we're close. We're close. This close. Let me just find Robin real quick.
Make sure his stuff was cleared out.
Whose?
From the service.
I did it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, are we good? Did we schmooze? I think we had a good schmooze. It's good to be seeing all of you again. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome back. We are now officially in August. And some of you may have already looked at the calendar, the Jewish calendar that is, and thought to yourselves, wait a second, Rabbi Khan, doesn't Tisha B'Av start tonight? We'll talk about that later. But when Tisha B'Av is on a Shabbat, you postpone it 24 hours. So it's going to be on the 10th of Av this year, which is Sunday. Who cares? I don't know, but we'll talk about it later. I care. That's my job, is to care. It's great to see everyone. We had a wonderful final Shabbat last weekend, even though it was a little rainy and dreary. At Camp Stein, both on Friday night and on Saturday morning. We were inside, unfortunately, on Friday night, but we got to go outside on Saturday morning, and camp is officially over, which means that Robin and I can now sleep at nighttime, because we went 9 weeks without sleeping. I think that's long enough. Anyway, Rabbi Mason Barkin is on a very well-deserved vacation, having just spent 8+ weeks at camp. 24/7, and I gave the cantor the night off too, because I heard he's been doing such a bang-up job. He deserves a little break, so you're stuck with me. Let's begin with some singing, and then we'll pray and do our Shabbat thing all together. It's great to be together. Hine ma tov manayim, Nene ma tov manayim. Different key, same song. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov manayim. 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 Shevet achim gam yachad. Up until about Labor Day-ish, we light Shabbat candles after services. For those of you joining us for the first time, just wanted to give you that heads up that we will light candles a little later on. Let's all welcome Shabbat as a congregation together with L'Chado D 138 or page 20, and welcome to everyone joining us online. I did not forget about you. I'm so glad you're here. Click in the link below, follow along with the hyperlink for the service, and we'll try to keep you up on the page numbers. Again, 138 or 20. kala. Ya la 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 bnei Shabbat, bnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor, Shamor v'zachor, libur echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'letila. Ya la la, ya la 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 la, l'chadodi, ya la la, ya la 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 la, l'kurat kala. Ya la 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 la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekabe. Hidorari, verse number 5. Hidorari, Hidorari, Kivaorech, Uri, Shidaberi, Kevod Adonai, Alayech nigla. Ya la la, ya la 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 la, l'chadodi, ya la la, ya la 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 la, l'kurat kala. Ya la 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 la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekabe. Let's all stand and face the entrance to welcome the Sabbath bride. Boi v'shalom, ateret ba'ala, gam besimcha, uvzola, tochem muneh, am segula, oi kala, oi kala. Ya la la, ya la 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 la, l'chad. Ya la la, ya la 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 la, l'kurat kala. Ya la 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 la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekabe. Ya la 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 la, l'chadodi. Ya la 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 la, l'kurat kala. Ya la 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 la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Please be seated. We'll continue with Psalm 92, page 140 or 22, the bottom half. Tzadik Tamar Yifrach. Tzadik Tamar Yifrach, ke'erez bavanon yeskeh, shetulim beveit Adonai, bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu. Od yenuvun beseva, deshenim berananim yehu, להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי צורי ולא עוולתה בו. 144 or 26. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעמד יברכותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ליומי עמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח, ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא v'imru. Amen. Before we begin with Baruch Hu, we'll take a moment to recognize those of our community, both here and online, who are in the immediate 7 or 30 days of mourning. If you wish to at this time, please stand so that we can ask for God's blessings upon you. Hamakom yinachem etchem betoch sha'ar v'lei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God console you among all who are grieving in Zion and Jerusalem. The congregation now stands with you in unity for Baruch Hu 146 and 28. Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim bechokma poteach she'arim uvitvuna meshane itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi layla umavdil ben yom uvein layla Adonai Tzvaot Shemo. Yechai v'kayam tamid yimloch alenu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Amariv Aravim. Let's all read together on the bottom of page 151 or page 33, depending on which version, and it will begin and read together. Torah is what God has revealed to us and what we discern of God. Ideas and ideals, laws and mitzvot, our religious heritage. It unfolds our memories of Abraham and Sarah, of Moses and Miriam and the prophets. It is legislation and explanation, allowing questions that challenge, answers that inspire, all a quest for meaning. It is our way of life, a path for our souls, and the design for a better world. 152 or 34. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot ayadecha v'hayu u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'isharecha Leman tizkeru v'asitem kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. We're going to read together on the bottom of 157 or 39. I picked this on purpose because as we enter into the Shabbat that precedes Tisha B'Av, of this commemoration of destruction of the first and second temple, we always are taught that it's time, once in a while, at least once a year, to recognize, to remember the tragic and oppressive and violent acts that happened to our people throughout the centuries, but also that there's redemption on the other side of it. So let's all join together. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל Yisrael. Please join me in the middle of the page on 160 or 42. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapore sukat shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, hapore sukat shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. The Shamru, page 162 or 44. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We're at the Amidah, the middle point of our service, 164 or 46, and together please stand. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Adonai sevatayikach Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Ya la ata Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibur v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, Vezocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi gula livnei bneihem, leman shemo b'ahava. Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham bezrat Sarah, atah gibur le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Akol, Atarav leHoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Bechesed, Mechayei Akol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha b'gevurot umido melach melech meimit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua b'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. And let's all read together on the top of 173 or 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat. Please take a moment to let the week that has passed remain behind you and enter into this beautiful space with silent prayer and meditation. .178 or 60. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam. We'll take some time now for some extra blessings for our loved ones' healing, for our country, for Israel. And before Misha Berach, we'll turn in our Siddurim to page 371 or 253. And as a congregation on this Shabbat, we think of Aliza Talia Sarah Bat Dina Rojo, Bracha Bat Baruch, Albert Bick, Cassie Black, Stephen Black, Gerald Buckman, Rita Bucksbaum, Chana Devorah Bas Sarah Davina, Dov V'Yakov V'Malka, Andrea Gass, Miriam Bat Yaakov V'Chaya, Megan Geronmi, Mark Hester, Gretchen Hunsaker, Joseph Heimovich, Sandy Katz, Patricia Kearney, Stan Quaisine, Mark Leb, Pam Meyer, Don Rosenblum, Dr. Larry Saltzman, Gary Stern, Rosemarie Rizzo Toke, Addison Thompson, Gary Weltman, Georgina Willett, Jim Willett. And if you would like to say out loud the name of a loved one here or type in the name of a loved one in the chat below, please do so at this time. Let's all sing together Misha Berach, which is on page 371 or 253. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And the prayer for our country we will read together in the bottom half of page 376 or 258. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. Shalu, shalom, Yerushalayim, Yishalu avayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper together. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. Good praying, folks. I'd daven at this temple. I'd come here. I always wanted to work at a place that I would go to. You know what I mean? And for those of you who are visiting for the first time, I'm not the cantor, so that's the good news. The bad news is you're still stuck with me for tonight, the rest of tonight and tomorrow, but he'll be back next week, and we'll all start being on the Bima again together, and yay, Jews. Okay. So let's go back to the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av, which, for the most part, is, I'll just use the word, ignored by Reformed communities. Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, arrives tomorrow, but because it's a day of mourning where you're not supposed to study even Torah, right? You're not even saying Eicha, the book of Lamentations, yes, but Torah, no, because Torah study is enjoyable. And for those of you who don't know that, you come at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and you'll see how enjoyable it is. So you're not supposed to do anything. Oh, I'll tell you the rules. It's sort of like Yom Kippur. It's a fasting holiday. You're not supposed to, the only prayers that you're really supposed to focus on, other than the 3-time-a-day morning, afternoon, and evening prayers, are prayers that involve mourning, psalms that involve mourning, sad things. You're not allowed to enjoy anything. You read Lamentations, as I said, and no physical pleasures whatsoever. Fun fact, Tisha B'Av, according to a poll in Yediot Achronot, which is the largest daily newspaper in Israel, which was conducted in 2010, just so you know what's happening over there. It's a little old, but probably pretty much the same. 22% of Israelis fast on Tisha B'Av. 52% of Israelis forgo recreational cultures. The other 48% are on the beach in Tel Aviv. And this is a fun fact I did not know, and I know it sounds oxymoronic to say fun fact Tisha B'Av, but nonetheless, in the 70s, Menachem Begin, when he became prime minister, tried to move both Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, and Yom HaZikaron, Israel Memorial Day, to Tisha B'Av, have one day and put everything on it. Now, part of the reason, and his rationale for it, Begin was, according to Danny Gordis, Israel's most Jewish prime minister, probably up until Naftali Bennett. Naftali Bennett was an observant Jew. Menachem Begin, if you ever remember, anytime he was going to say something biblical, would put a yarmulke on. He was very Jewish. That there are all of these Jewish events related to the 9th day of Av, other than the destruction of the first temple, which was in the year 586-ish before the Common Era, and the second temple in the year 70 of the Common Era, many hundreds of years later. So, tradition, the rabbis teach us, the 12 spies returned from their mission to check out Israel, with 10 of them saying, it'll never work, we'll never make it, right? The bad news day, 9th of Av. First temple, second temple, of course. The Romans ended a crushing defeat of Bar Kokhba in 137 CE. We will go in November by the area where that took place. So the Romans totally crushed, having already defeated most of Israel and destroyed the rest of their holy spaces. And then over time, we as a community have added, and the rabbis have added, the following. The First Crusade, they say, officially started in 1096 on Tisha B'Av. The Jewish expulsion from England. I know you were going to thought I was going to say Spain, which I am in a second, but we've been expelled from a lot of places. As Woody Allen would say, I wouldn't want to be a part of a club that would have me as a member. Huh? So, we were expelled from England in 1290. We were expelled from France in 1306. We were, Spain, 1492. We were also expelled from the Ukraine in about 1400 and sent into slavery in Istanbul. The final solution, according to tradition, was passed in or around Tisha B'Av. The Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto were expelled and transferred to their deaths at Treblinka in 1942 on or around Tisha B'Av. And the AMIA bombing in Buenos Aires, which killed 85 Jews in 1994 on the 10th of Av. Do you really think all of those other events all took place on the 9th day of Av? Does anyone raise your hand if you think, yes, every one of those events happened on the 9th day of Av? No one, and you're all right. So some actually took place in November, some took place probably in January, others took place in March. Group participation question. Why do you think the rabbis in our tradition are really thoughtful, I think, in assigning one day, the 9th of Av, to all of these cataclysmic events? Wait, what? So it's all grieving and mourning, and kind of let's all just chain it to one time. What were you going to say? It's efficient. That's a good way of putting it. I think that's what Begin had in mind when he wanted to move Yom HaShoah. By the way, the decision about Yom HaShoah, and here's the big difference, they're too new, right? These are the first three holy days, if you will, that the state of Israel as a sovereign state of the Jewish people invented. The chief rabbinate invented Yom HaShoah, Yom HaAtzmaut, and Yom HaZikaron. So they were too new at the end of the day. They weren't old enough and long enough ago to put into, they needed their own day. So that was ultimately why that didn't happen. What are some other reasons that we think that all of these things probably didn't happen, but they're all sort of tied into one? Yes, Sally?
Because I think if you celebrated each one of those losses, you'd be mourning all the time.
We'd have like a year-round mourning. I want to repeat for people online. We'd have mourning year-round if we did that. I mean, if we said, okay, in January it was this, and in February it was that, in March, April, May, like we'd be mourning all the time. And that's a lot of fast days for Jews.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yes, Steve.
That you have to recognize tragedy, but somehow you have to get up and walk away and be positive.
Right. There has to be a balance between recognizing tragedy or acknowledging a tragedy or commemorating tragedy and then getting up and doing life and walking around. Any other ideas? Yeah.
Isn't that why Israel put Yom HaShoah right next to the very next day of the celebration?
It's interesting that Yom HaShoah, and I have to look it up, is for a specific event. Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut is the Day of Independence, May 14th, or the 14th of Iyar. So that's date bound to the day that Israel became an independent state in 1948, whereas Yom HaShoah is for another reason, but I don't know. But they are within 10 days of each other. You're right. Yes?
Perhaps they didn't historically know the exact dates.
Probably not.
Because a lot of things as you go around Israel, it seems like it's kind of made up to make it easy.
Sometimes that pile of rocks in Israel is somehow magically matched up with some event because some archaeologists told us so. And most of the time, they're pretty right. This is Herodian, from the Herodian period, or this is from the period of Solomon. When we go in November, we'll go by sites where we'll look down and see areas that are probably from the Second Temple period, maybe from the First Temple. We don't know. For those of us who just went, in June, we got to go under that bridge, which is a brand new excavation in Jerusalem, the bridge that would link sort of it was the walkway bridge to get to the Holy Temple from Jerusalem to the Temple Mount, and we got to see the underneath. They excavated the bridge. So we don't know. Sometimes it's a convenient way of putting everything together into one day. It's very much like mourning Kaddish or yard site. It gets harder and harder each year to approach the day of a yard site because we only get it once. It's not easier. It's definitely hard to be. We get Shiva, we get Shloshim, we get the year to mourn. So the first year is the hardest year. But it sometimes, for some people, gets harder in different, not harder, that's the wrong word, more poignant. And sometimes people even get a little anxious in the month or so before a yard site because it's special, it's specific, it's once a year. My parents died in January and in March. And so sometimes I'll find myself thinking a lot about them before their yard site comes along. And for those of you who said this, you're exactly right. The rabbis and Jewish tradition really did not want us to be in that constant state of anxiety, worrying about, thinking about, getting sad about, or even upsetting ourselves too frequently with impending doom dates. Rather, put it all into one. Put it all into one date. And like commemorating a yard site, make that count. Make that a day where you give yourself permission to mourn so that you can live your life the other 364 days of the year. So you're all right on. You're all spot on in your understanding of why Tisha B'Av contains all of these catastrophic, cataclysmic events in Jewish history. So the final question I want to ask is, why do we ignore it in the Reform movement? Why do you think, or do you think we should, basically ignore Tisha B'Av? Having given you all of that information. Why shouldn't we, Joe?
Because it's part of our religion.
It's part of our religion.
Our heritage, our history.
Mm-hmm. It's part of our heritage, it's part of our history, it's a holiday on the calendar, it's been around for a long time. It's free counseling. Free, it is, it's group counseling. It is, it's group counseling for all of these cataclysmic things. Yes. Gives us an opportunity to mourn. Which is also another trick of the Israel journey, also, a la the rocks being there, and is every place is also a place where Jews were either killed or almost destroyed or were victorious, right? Depending on the day of the week and the tour guide, you'll focus on one or the other. Yeah. What about it?
But the early Reform rabbis probably figured it was during the summer and everyone's on vacation.
Well, especially,
They didn't want to make a big deal.
Steve makes a good point that early Reform rabbis knew that it would take place always in the summer, July or August, and didn't want it to mess up their vacation. And I agree. That's probably a good reason. The truth is that the Reform movement made a decision very early on in Pittsburgh in the late 19th century that anything having to do with the Temple Mount, the temple worship, the priesthood, should all be considered obsolete and antiquated and anachronistic. In other words, we're not going to pay any attention to that anymore. So for example, when we do Aliyot for the Torah on Shabbat morning, there's no Cohen, Levi, Yisraelite. Did away with that. Rabbis don't do the priestly blessing like I do it, or even acknowledge that they're Kohens. We don't go to the Wailing Wall and wail, right? We don't. We're sort of the happy Jews, right? We want to just skip over the bad stuff, and I'm oversimplifying, and go to the good stuff, right? We want to go to the oneg. So in all seriousness, we do have a tendency in the Reform movement to poo-poo things that are traditional in a mourning, grieving sense. The Enlightenment was all about, after all, we've made it. We're part of the world, and then the Holocaust happened, right? So I would argue that it may be time for us to start thinking about inserting Tisha B'Av back into our calendar, not to have the gloom and doom per se, but to help Reform Jews understand that it is part of culture, tradition. It is part of our religion. It's part of being part of the peoplehood of Israel. It is. And that's win-win for the Jews. That's all good for the Jews. So it's something to think about. Last
Now, I don't know how it
couple
is
comments.
now, but I know that when we got married 55 years ago, we knew for 6 weeks, and it was the 6 weeks of Tisha B'Av.
3.
And we know 6 back then.
No, it's 3. You're also thinking about Lori's talking about the dates that you're prohibited from getting married.
Right, and everybody I knew, and they were Reformed, Conservative, Orthodox, all avoided.
Yep.
You couldn't get married 6 weeks.
Okay?
And that's how important it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad that Reform.
Yeah. So the old rules, even in the Reform movement, was a rabbi would not officiate at a wedding in where Lori grew up 6 weeks out. Remember, there's also the prohibition against doing weddings from Passover through the 33rd day of counting of the Omer, Lag BaOmer. There's no weddings allowed. And then there's no weddings allowed for, in our case, 3 weeks, in your case, 6 weeks before Tisha B'Av. We read 3 Haftorahs that are called the Haftarot of Rebuke for the 3 Shabbatot before. And now, after tomorrow, starting next week, we'll read the 7 of Comfort. And those will tell us, that tells us, by the way, it's 7 weeks until Rosh Hashanah. So start freaking out next Shabbat, especially if you're Robin or me or Cantor or Rabbi Mason Barkin, that's the 7 week, and that goes by very fast. So we're in that period now when we're grappling with this. I don't think we'd get a huge turnout for a Tisha B'Av service, but I do think if we package it right and we explain it the way that you just explained it, I do think that people would be somewhat interested in it. And I think that people would get a better understanding the Jewish mourning, both individually and communal, does have a beginning, middle, and end. And to tie in all of these days into one day is a very Jewish message, which is do your mourning, fast, don't do anything pleasurable for 24 hours, twice a year, basically, this day and on Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, to do your work by yourself. On Tisha B'Av, to do your work as a community, knowing where you came from so that you know where you're going, and so that you can live your life the rest of the year, not in a constant state of anxiety that something bad or sad is coming up. Shabbat Shalom. And I guess I just put a foot in my mouth, and now we're going to be doing Tisha B'Av. Because someone's going to say it next year. You remember when you talked about it last summer? Anyway, we have several things coming up. Do we have a designated board member tonight, Robin? Wendy. Do you want me to take care of it? Or would you like to? Wendy Carrier, who is our treasurer, and who spent 4 weeks as a volunteer at Camp Stein running the show. There you go. You don't have to read all of them.
Okay, we'll just.
Someone, Robin, is writing very long announcements. Very well-described announcements. So I would skip half of them, but
Okay, this is a good
you have to do that one. And the blood drive, it's sold out, so let's skip that.
Okay.
What?
Say thank you for everybody who signed up.
Registration. Thank you to, oh, you only have to say that part.
Yes.
All right, you go.
Okay.
You've done it before.
Okay, this is good too. Hevra, our revamped religious school program, is open for registration. All students in grades pre-K through 6 should be registered ahead of our opening day, Sunday, August 28th. Blood drive is Sunday. Thank you for everyone who's signed up. Let's see, the scribe event, the last scribe event is August 21st, which was wonderful. We did that. Please do that if you haven't. High holidays, information on tickets and registration will be available shortly. Let's see. CBI will continue its tradition of publishing a virtual memorial book. The virtual publication gives us the opportunity to express our affection and respect for our loved ones and share their blessed memory with the congregation. Order forms are available through the weekly e-newsletter. Deadline for submissions is next Friday, August 12th. Friday night dinner group is back. Please contact CBI member Elaine Glazer. Elaine, where are you? There you are. During the summer months to RSVP for restaurant information 1 week in advance and join other congregation members for dinner immediately following services. Rabbi Mason Barkin and several other Reform rabbis will be teaching this fall's Introduction to Judaism course. It is now open for registration online. This 15-week course will meet on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9, beginning September 13th. And again, if you're joining us for the first time or viewing Shabbat services from outside of the Valley, please feel free to introduce yourself virtually or say hello to us after services. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Perfect. We are trailblazing under Robin Roeder and Rabbi Mason Barkin's leadership, trailblazing in reaching out to unaffiliated Jews, the Hever program, which what he just spoke about, for grades K, 1, 2, and 3. There will be such a thing as a Hever membership where you don't actually join the synagogue per se, you join the religious school. And you pay a fee for your kid to go to religious school, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. Younger families, sometimes it's not on their radar yet to join a synagogue, or they don't have the amount of money that it costs, even though we will never turn anyone away. What we're trying to do is get unaffiliated Jews to send their kids to our awesome religious school, and which is going to meet on 3 Sundays a month and 1 Friday night a month, so that the parents can get together and have some big Jewish fun. And eventually, that's going to turn into something where Sundays become less focal of a focal point, and we move it back to Shabbat being focal. There's also a series of bundles where there's one amount of contribution, and you at home can join us for the High Holy Days. Of course, our CBI members will get everything, not a la carte. You get the entire menu of everything for the High Holy Days, plus you get the benefit of being a member of a historic synagogue with really cool 2 other really cool clergy. And these bundles that Robin invented will be for your friends who are not affiliated. A bundle meaning they'll get a ticket to our Shabbat dinner before Rosh Hashanah. They'll get a ticket to, I hate the word ticket, makes it sound like we're doing a show. They will get a pass, a welcome to the dinner before Rosh Hashanah and all of our High Holy Day services. And there's even going to be an online bundle, I think something like an online bundle. So we're really encouraging you to look at that information when you see it. And even though your initial response may be, that doesn't apply to me, I'm a member, and God bless you for that, go find some friends who are not affiliated and tell them, hey, for a couple $100, you get some really good stuff, including dinner, hello, on Erev Rosh Hashanah, and a wonderful High Holy Day experience together. Second quick announcement, for those of you coming to Israel in November, don't forget our next meeting is next Thursday here at CBI at 6 o'clock till 7:30. Pastor Mackey is going to be explaining what Christianity is, and I'm going to be explaining what Judaism is, and we're going to do it in an hour and a half. So you want to talk about a miracle? That will be a miracle. Because I don't know if you've seen the 2 of us together. We both like to chat. Anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. Even if you're not coming to Israel in November, I'd recommend coming because it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll be in the sanctuary Thursday night. And finally, that Israel trip's registration will be closing a week from today. So once we hit a week from today, there will be a waiting list, I think, that we will be able to put together, but the trip is basically sold out at this point. So we have 91 people signed up, which is 3 buses, which is, I'm done. 3 buses, 4 would put me over the edge. 3 will be big Jewish fun and big Baptist fun too. So who knew? We have 21 members signed up right now, so we're really excited for that trip. Okay, guys, those are the last supplements, and please join us again after our service for Kiddush and Hamotzi. You know, I tried to do this out there last time, and it was too noisy. Is anyone here for the first time you'd like to stand up? You don't have to, or introduce yourselves. If you're from out of town or you're joining us for the first time, I could do it out there, but it's too hard to get everyone quiet. Please.
Chris Del Rey, brother of Catherine Colladin, and Alex, he's my nephew. This is my nephew Adam Colladin, and I'm visiting them from Puerto Rico.
Thank you, and sorry that you had to come for these circumstances. Yeah. But I'm glad that you're here.
I'm glad to be here, and I love this temple.
Oh,
beautiful.
Thank you. We love it too. We're glad you love it. Thank you. Yes, you're here for the first time, my dear? I don't think so. But please, raise your hand and introduce yourself. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. All right. Yes. Did you want to introduce yourselves? Where in Pennsylvania? I'm sure there's people here from those places. Yay. At least you're honest. All right, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Welcome. We're so glad to have you. Yes. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Where in New York did you live? Brooklyn. I lived in Brooklyn Heights. Oh, really? I was on Hicks Street. Right near me, a couple of subway stops, and we're set. Carroll Garden, did you say? No, I took Bergen Street. Oh, gotcha. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Grandma. Welcome. Anyone else? Oh, please.
I'm Lynn Kahn, and
My long-lost cousins are here. Lynn and?
my parents, or my grandparents, were one of the founding members,
Oh,
the Melsers, way back when.
nice.
And I grew up at Temple Beth Israel.
Oh, very nice. With all of this furniture. Yes. Which just got transitioned here. Well, welcome, Lynn.
Thank you.
You want to introduce this guy? Or do you want him to do it?
Larry Kahn, I'm married to Lynn. Been in the Valley for 37 years and enjoying that service.
Thank you. Thanks. So glad you're here. Again, you're not forced to, but anyone else who's here for the first time or you're temple shopping, please feel free to come say hi to us after services. We're so happy you're here and look forward to seeing you after. All right, friends, let's close this service up. Aleinu 586. Please stand. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon latet gedula leotze breshit shelo asanu kagoyah. ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים שתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו כך כתוב בתורתו וידעת יום והשבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. It is with our deepest sympathies that we note the passing of the following people who were recently laid to their eternal rest, whose families observed the immediate 7 and 30 days of mourning. Dennis Lee Culloden, husband of Catherine, father of Nicole, Adam, and Alex, and Shannon as well, grandfather of Gideon. And Beverly Fan, wife of Floyd Fan, of blessed memory, mother of Larry and Heather Fan. As a congregation, we also recognize the yardsides of some important people for our congregation and, of course, for you. Ray Ackerman, Bertha Atkins, Irving Beckman, Shireen Lee Black, Robert Blair, Jamie Brody, Phil Chapman, Harvey Kleeman, Brad Cohen, Trevor Krause, Nathan Diamond, Gus Echeverria, Ruth Francis Feinstein, Miriam Finkelman, Ida Frazen, Tilly Friedman, Esther Goldstock, Louis Gusdorf, Morris B. Hackle, Mo Halpern, Ruth Lerner, Albert J. Leonard, Nathan Lerner, James H. Levy, Dennis Barkley Morris, William Myers, Ralph Knock, Albert B. Rothschild, Edward Schlossberg, Terry Schneiderman, Mildred Schwartz, William Seidberg, Harlan Sherman, Linda Schultz, Louis Schwartz, Harry Stein, Benjamin David Strauss, Marjorie Weinstein, Irving Welled, Maurice Winograd, Ray Winograd, Renee Zaksowitsky, Harry Zeiperstein. If there's anyone here who would like to say out loud the name of a loved one you would like us to take into our hearts with our own, or online, if you would like to type in the name of a loved one in the chat, please do so. We remember the 6 million who perished in the Shoah, including 1.5 million children who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We remember the soldiers and the civilians of the state of Israel who have given their lives for our Jewish homeland. May all of their souls be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. Mourners Kaddish can be found on 598 or 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divrach chirutei, ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei rabba mevorach le'alam ule'amei amaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekutsha brichu. Le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to those who are grieving is together we say amen. Let's all join together for a concluding song. Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah. Let us all sing a song of praise. Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. 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 Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah. Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah. Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah. Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Jamie, is it really obvious how out of tune this is?
All right, folks, let's get our candles on. We're going to get it. Everyone come on in and fill up the sides also. The wings. The wings. Not those wings. All right, everyone, we're going to light candles, and we're going to say some, and we've got a little challah, too, which is really awesome. We do have hand sanitizer up here for those of you who would like some challah, but want to make sure that the others are with clean hands. Please feel free to sanitize before so that we don't spread monkeypox, which is our new thing, our newest thing. What other plagues should we have this? Boils and locusts, frogs. Yes, okay. Whoa. All right, please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta V'otanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.